Hello, hello, good people. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Make America Think Again with Shanavonn, or Car Conversations. Depending upon whether or not you have joined me here on YouTube or you can just hear my voice, welcome to you all. And let's have a week recap. Let's recap this past week because there was a lot of things happened this week. A couple of things I'm going to talk about separately in different podcasts, but let's talk about some of the major things here. So, number one, the government shutdown. So, right now, the government is shut down, and you have Republicans blaming Democrats, and you have Democrats saying, we have no power. We can't do anything. We have no power. And here's the thing that Republicans think is going to help them, but it's not. But what they think is going to help them is by saying that Democrats are trying to get health insurance for immigrants, for non-citizens. And folks, that would be illegal. There is a law against that. So there is no way, especially with Democrats they don't have the White House, they don't have Congress, and they definitely don't have SCOTUS. They do not have the Supreme Court. They have no power. How would they go around a federal law that is against immigrants having any type of health benefits or receiving any type of health benefits? How do they even have the power to do that? They do not. And here's the other thing. The law that was passed to prevent this from happening was passed by Republicans' original daddy, Ronald Reagan. Back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan passed the Emergency Medical Treatment Act. So in this act is when, and this is what Republicans are trying to use, but it was their original daddy who wrote this law, okay? So they're trying to use this and say, well, if they go to the hospital, they will still receive treatment. Yes, any and everybody that shows up in a hospital emergency room and you need medical care, doctors, first of all, they have a Hippocratic oath to help anyone who comes in. That's number one. Number two, this law is in place that they shall receive emergency services. But as far as just going to the doctor, going to a dentist for, cleaning their teeth, etc., no, immigrants are not privy to that. Only American citizens. So they can work. FICA is taken out of their checks just like it's taken out of ours. Social Security, Medicare, all the things that you see taken out of your checks are taken out of their checks. So they are paying taxes, but they don't benefit from any of it. I don't know how many times we have to keep saying this, but they don't benefit from any of it. So you as an American, yes, you can apply for Medicaid, Medicare. You can receive those social programs that you have paid into. You have already paid into because it comes out of each and every one of your checks. You can receive those benefits, but an immigrant cannot. And so Republicans are trying to say that Democrats are trying to make it possible for everyone to receive insurance. And that is just a blatant lie. It is not possible. There is law that prevents that from happening. So that's number one. This is the excuse that they're using. They are responsible. And actually, most of the polls have said this week or the past couple of days that Americans believe that Republicans are responsible. So they're losing the argument. They're losing the narrative. So I don't know when they're going to wake up to it, but they keep trying to perpetuate this lie, and you can't do anything without power. You just can't. You just cannot. And again, Democrats do not have the White House. Democrats do not have the majority in Congress, in either the Senate or the House. And they definitely do not have a majority in the Supreme Court, unfortunately. And we've got a rogue, corrupt Supreme Court, in my opinion, anyway. So Republicans are responsible for this government shutdown. Now, they are trying to use it to their advantage as well, bring in the Heritage Foundation to shut down other areas of the government, which is what the Heritage Foundation has always wanted to do. I've repeatedly said on this platform that you are being used, MAGA. You have been used. The Heritage Foundation continues to use you as the foot soldiers to make room and make way for what they want to do. And this is yet another one of the things that they want to do. They want to gut the health insurance system. Number one, because it's connected to Obama. They even renamed it, so they didn't have to say Obamacare. But they want to gut that and get rid of it, take that money out of that, and once again, shuffle it over to wealthy oligarchs. That's where that money's going to go. So, and you will have no insurance. You will have no access to insurance. So that's number one thing that happened this week. Number two big shit show that we have to talk about is what went down in Virginia at Quantico. Pete Hegseth summoned all the leaders of the military to Virginia to sit them down and talk to them. And Felon 47 found out about it haphazardly because a journalist brought it up. He wasn't even aware that this was going down, by the way. You could tell that in that moment. If you saw that interview in the Oval Office. He didn't know anything about it, but he shows up now that he knows about it. So you have Pete Hegseth and you have him. Number one thing that I want to say about this shit show is that, let's take Felon 47 first. So he gets on stage. Number one, you can see, his little fragile ego is wounded because he didn't get this standing ovation when his music played and he came out on stage, because he made a note to say, wow, I've never walked into a room that's so silent with no applause. So clearly his ego was bruised. And then he takes the podium and he starts talking about lying and googly garbs and word salads, and he sounds very weak and a little raspy in his voice and tired and lethargic, and then more lies and blah, 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 word salad, googly garb. And oh yeah, I want you to turn on the American people. That's the only thing that really stood out in what he said. I want you to be ready to turn on your fellow Americans, military leaders. And then when he was done speaking, he walked off the stage, and I'll probably say about 4 or 5 people applauded. Then Pete Hegseth comes up. Pete Hegseth says, first of all, he fat shames the military. He body shames, let me say body shames. He specifically was fat shaming, but he body shamed the military. He talked about haircuts and grooming. So that means that he was trying, we don't want anybody with long hair. I think that was to apply to women. And then he talked about if you can't shave every day or properly, I believe that applied to Black men and, razor bumps that Black men get. And so, he body shamed, then he excluded groups. And then he just went on, even the generals and even the leaders, you got the fat bellies, you can't even button up your suits. Like he was just insulting his entire audience, ignoring the fact that his president can't button up his suit and wears some long ass ties to cover that fat belly up. But hey, who am I to point that out? So he goes on about the haircuts and then, here's the other thing. He wants to bring back hazing. Where are the golden days where we take the new recruits out and we just beat them up for no reason? So he wants to bring back hazing and corporal punishment. He walked out, I'm the Secretary of War. Nobody's saying that shit. You cannot change the department without approval from Congress. So you are still, unfortunately, you are still the Secretary of Defense. But I am the Secretary of War, and you're too fat, and I want you to do more push-ups and pull-ups. When we've seen videos of him struggling to do pull-ups, you can't button your jackets. You need to cut your hair and shave. We're going to get back to grooming. Oh, no, yeah, let's go back to beating each other's asses. That's basically what Pete Hex has said. Basically what he said. And then he went on, on and on, back and forth, walking back and forth. But here's the key thing that everyone should have been paying attention to in this whole fiasco, this whole shit show, was the lack of applause by the military leaders. It spoke volumes when they refused to applaud. He got no applause whatsoever. It was like crickets when his ass walked off stage. And let me tell you, you could see it in his face, that bruised little ego. I know that fool went right off stage and grabbed a drink. We know that because his bruised little ego just shrunk. He just shrunk and then shriveled his ass off stage. So yeah, that happened this week. They both got on stage, talked batshit crazy, but basically what their intention was to do was to try to get into the minds of the leaders of the military that we're going to need you at some point to go against your fellow Americans. And the generals and the leaders of the military, they made a point to let them know by their silence that they were not on that messaging. They were not feeling it. They were not feeling it at all. So that's that. And then you also had this week, Diddy. The Diddy trial, the Diddy case finally wrapped up. Diddy got sentenced to 4 years. It is my understanding that the probation department was asking or suggested or recommended to the judge 5 to 6 years. And then the prosecution was asking for 11 years, which I believe was the maximum. And the judge came up with 4 years. So he will get credit for time served, which I believe is about 13 months. And then he'll serve the rest of his sentence, which probably close to a little over 2.5 years, a little over 2 years. So yeah, I don't think that's enough. I don't think he got enough, but hey, that was the judge's decision. I will say this, that fortunately where he's going to be transferred to, he will have more access to services. I really believe that he should work on his addiction issues because clearly he has definitely had addictions to drug and alcohol, and I believe sex and all the other stuff that he was engaging in. There was addiction there as well. So he clearly has some addiction issues, and he has addiction to power. That's clear as well. So by no means did I think he should have gotten off. I think I've already expressed that to all of you. I think this time, in my personal opinion, was less than I would have given him. But hey, I'm not a judge. I'm not a judge. He got 4 years. Hopefully he works on himself, continues to work on himself. Now, he had speaking engagements lined up in Miami. Okay. And when asked about it in court, he said, oh, no. Those weren't speaking engagements, those were teaching engagements. Because I've been in prison teaching the other guys, about my business and how to build a business. And I got them to agree not to fight. If you don't fight, then I'll teach you about business. And he claims that's what he was going to take outside. And this is what these speaking engagements were lined up in Miami. Okay. Yeah. All right, Diddy. All right. So yeah, happy times to you in federal prison, and I hope you continue to work on yourself. All right, so the last thing I want to say for this week's recap is that there is some information. I'm waiting for other sources to back up this information, but I do have a little brief update in regards to Trey Reed. I do know that Benjamin Crump is representing the family and got this additional autopsy in place. And we know that Colin Kaepernick, his organization, paid for it. So I believe that autopsy, okay, so there's some sources that saying the information has been released and other sources I'm waiting on. But I do want to say right now, it looks like number one false reporting was the clothing that he was found in. And then also that it has been noted, and I'm going to say possibly potentially, that there was blunt force trauma to the back of his head was found in this second autopsy. So, like I said, I'm going to keep up with this case. Trey Reed, for those of you that are not familiar, this is the young man who was found hanging from a tree on Delta State University's campus about probably 2 weeks ago, right after the CK shooting and the backlash from that, and MAGA far right-wing people targeting Black people immediately, even though I'm not even going to go down that road. But I bring that up because some of the reporting I've seen out there is that, and again, I'm not confirming this yet, I'm waiting for other sources to confirm it as well, that Trey Reed, he was going back and forth with some people via social media in regards to what happened with Charlie Kirk. So they are thinking, or the hypothesis is, that these people or somebody went after him for doing that. So as more news is released about that case, I will keep you up to date on that. But yeah, that's just a recap of the week really quickly, and I will talk to you all soon. It's a lot happening, it's a lot going on.